If you are in the market to try to get in front of your ideal customer with Facebook ads, then you are in the right place, because this is part one of a multi-part series where I will break down and distill everything that you need to know and do to get in front of your ideal customers through Facebook ads. So since this is going to be a multi-part series, I'm gonna go ahead and just dive right in. So in this video, I first and foremost want to just go over what actually is available to you, because there are a lot of options and most people have a general idea, but they don't know the specifics of each category, right? You kind of know your warm traffic, your cold traffic, and that's kind of it. But inside of those categories, both warm and cold, there are multiple options that you can go and target. So let's start with all your warm targeting options. So inside of Facebook, these are known as your custom audiences. It's kind of a clunky name. I've never been a fan of it. So I always tell people, think of custom audiences as pixel-based audience. So it's data that your pixel's collecting either on your website or all through your Facebook profile or your Instagram profile, and that's how you are building those audiences right there. So the various custom audiences include website visitors, email lists, video viewers, Facebook and Instagram page engagement, and then lastly, people who interact with your lead forms and instant experiences, which isn't used very often because not too many people are using those objectives. So that's everything that you can go after with your custom audiences. So you can slice and dice that any way you want, and you can even get a little bit more specific with every single one of those. So for example, for the Instagram and Facebook page engagement, right, you can target people, for example, who have simply engaged with your page in any way, shape, or form, or you can more specifically go after people who have engaged with your page in a specific way, such as they sent you a message. And then of course with your email list, this is going to be your opt-ins and your buyers. And then for your email list, this is going to be your opt-ins and your buyers. Typically you don't want to get in front of someone who have already bought from you. So oftentimes the buyer lists are good for two reasons. One, you can exclude them from seeing your ads in the future. That way you're not wasting money impressions. Or if you have a new offer that you feel that would be beneficial to them, you can still target your buyers. Okay, next we have lookalike audiences. So these tend to be higher quality cold traffic audiences. Now, I do say the phrase tend to be very intentionally because there are no absolutes inside of Facebook, if only that were the case. So more often than not, they do work out well, but it's not a guarantee. So what is a lookalike audience? A lookalike audience is simply a cold traffic audience that is similar to one of your warm audiences. So for example, let's just take your email list. You upload your email list, and so then Facebook is going to go and analyze everyone that's on your email list and then go out and find people who are similar to your email list members, which is pretty cool, right? That does all the targeting for you, and so you actually don't have to really figure everything out yourself. You simply have to give them one of your warm audiences, and then the lookalike will take care of itself. Now, one main recommendation I always have for the lookalikes is that the more people that are in your base audience, whether it's your email list, your website visitors, your page engagement, whatever it might be, the more people there are in that base audience, the better your lookalike is going to be. So even though the minimum amount required to be able to create a lookalike is 100, I always recommend people try to get to at least 1,000, right? 1,000 website visitors, 1,000 page engagement people, 1,000 people who have interacted with your lead form, whatever it might be. Once you hit that 1,000 mark, I have found that the quality of that lookalike just really jumps up astronomically. The one exception is your buyers, because unless you are a massive company and you're doing tons of revenue each and every single month, which if you are, congratulations, that's awesome. But unless you're in that place, right, most people aren't going to have thousands and thousands of buyers. So if you only have a couple hundred buyers, that's totally fine. That's still going to be a very high caliber, typically the most high caliber lookalike you can create, one of your buyers. And so even if you only have 100, 200 of those, go ahead and still create a lookalike with audience size. Next, we have things like demographics. So this is just simple things. This probably was the simplest form you can get, right? Age, gender, and location, right? So you can modify it. Probably the one that's most adjustable right there would be the age range, and obviously locations. You can do things like countrywide, multiple countries, or just statewide, just cities, a geographic area around a certain point, whatever it might be. You can kind of play with that in terms of whether you're a local business or a nationwide business, and so you do what's appropriate for yourself. And then the age range. So typically the default is 18 to 65. Now, obviously, if your buyers don't fall into either one of those categories, go ahead and adjust that. It's totally fine to do something like, hey, 25 to 40, because that's where all of my buyers are in their age range. Next up, we have detailed targeting. So this is what most people think about when they think about Facebook ads, right? You think of, oh, there are tens of thousands of targeting options available on Facebook. That's what makes the platform so powerful. And yes, that is true. So this is what I mean by that. Detailed targeting, when you go ahead and type in, hey, I want to target people who are fans of Star Wars, they are fans of Shopify, whatever it might be, right? You can go ahead and target fans of a bunch of different things. And then that's what I mean by detailed targeting. So this here, you have so many options. I don't actually know the actual number of targeting options available throughout all of Facebook, but it is tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of different options that you can go after. And so the options are limitless, and that can seem a little bit overwhelming, but in one of my future videos for this series, I will break that down, how you actually go about finding the right detailed targeting options for you. And lastly, there is open targeting. So I actually just recently made a video that this is the default that Facebook is moving towards. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go ahead and check out this tutorial right here, where I talk about the change in the interface that moves people towards this open targeting option. So basically, this is just no targeting. That's the simplest way you can think about it. You don't do anything with the age range. You don't do anything with the gender. You don't do anything with demographics or locations. You don't do any detailed targeting. You don't do any lookalikes. None of that, right? You literally just have a blank slate, and you give Facebook all of the power to go out and find your target audience. Now, I don't necessarily recommend for you to start off this way. It's an option for you to try in the future once your pixel has a good amount of data, but it is something that Facebook is trying to push more and more people to as they improve on their AI capabilities. All right, so now that you have an understanding of what is available to you from a targeting standpoint, now you need to map your targeting strategy. So I always tell people, start with your warm audiences first and then move down to cold. So the very first people you should be targeting is your email list, and then you can move on to your website visitors, and then you can move on to your social media engagers, so on and so forth. And as we go down this, it's a less and less warm audience. They're all warm audiences, don't get me wrong, but obviously people who are on your email list, those are people that have given you their private information in the form of their email and potentially even their phone number. So they're clearly into what you have to say or sell, right? So those are gonna be your warmest people, and that's where you can get the biggest bang for your buck right out of the gates. And then there's your website visitors, people who have actually gone and interacted with your content. Clearly that's a higher caliber person than someone that just saw one of your posts on social media, and so then you move on to your post engagement after that. So it's a little bit of a trickle down, where you start with your warmest audience first, and then less warm, less warm, less warm, less warm, until you've exhausted all of your warm audiences. So once you are done going through those lists of warm, where do you go from there? Then you want to try lookalikes of all those warm audiences. So a lookalike of your email list, a lookalike of your website visitors, a lookalike of your page engagement, a lookalike of your followers on both Facebook and Instagram. Because again, lookalikes tend to be a little bit higher quality than detailed targeting, and also they're just easier because Facebook does all of the targeting work for you. And so go ahead and select those, and that'll be your next step. After you are done with lookalikes, now we can move on to detailed targeting, which again, I will show you in depth in a separate tutorial in this series on how to go about doing detailed targeting. After that, you can move on to simple demographics and open targeting. I'm kind of lumping those together because it's kind of rare / hard to do 100% open targeting, right? I would always tell people, at the very least, modify the age range, and certainly modify the geographic location, right? You don't want to be marketing in a country where it doesn't make sense for you to be marketing in the first place. So I'm going to lump those together, demographics and open targeting, right? If you change the age range a little bit, I still consider that to be open targeting. But I say this for last because this is going to be the absolute coldest out of all the cold audiences, and it might be the most difficult to get traction from, because it's really only going to work if you have a good amount of data on your pixel. That's why I have prioritized it as last. So basically what you want to strive for here is that you want to build up your custom audiences as fast as possible. Again, custom audiences, think warm audiences, with the intention of creating lookalikes of those. That is going to be the best game plan for everyone involved, regardless of what industry, because some industries have tons and tons of targeting options available to them inside of detailed targeting, and some have few to none. I have some clients where literally there's probably only like 2 different targeting options we can actually go after inside of detailed targeting. And so we build up the custom audiences as much as possible, and we really leverage lookalikes because we're very limited in the detailed targeting section. So always make sure though it's quality custom audiences that you are going after, right? If there's a bunch of spammers on your email list, that's obviously not going to be a quality list, and you obviously don't want to create a lookalike of that. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that you can customize the lengths of your custom audiences, and you want to test various lengths. So for example, for any pixel-based audiences, so off platform, the maximum date range for that is 180 days. So you can do website visitors 180 days. Now you can go ahead and try that, and if you don't get a whole lot of traffic on a daily to monthly basis, 180 days is perfectly fine. But if you do get tons of traffic to your website, then obviously, if you think about it, someone who was on your website 180 days ago, they're not going to be as warm and as qualified as someone who's on your website 7 days ago. So definitely go ahead and try, 7-day audiences, 30-day audiences, 60-day audiences. The shorter the audience, the warmer that audience is going to be, and ideally or usually you're going to get better results. All right, and there you have it. That is the breakdown for part 1 of this video series, where I simply laid out everything that is available to you. In the next part of this video series, I'm gonna actually start sharing my screen and show you how to construct these various audiences inside of your Facebook Ads Manager. If you have any questions about anything I covered today, as always, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.